Mori ore te whānau. Welcome back to the 99Dreams podcast. We are back in 2023. It's crazy. 2022 was lots of fun. We were just building up. We were just getting started. And now 2023, I reckon we're going to take it to the moon. And today we've got a great guest. We're bringing on Lucy, who has some amazing kōrero to share with us. I'm really excited for this. It's going to be so much fun. I've done a little bit of research, but not a lot. So there's some things that I might throw out there, but I'm looking forward to this, guys. So, yeah, let me introduce Lucy real quick. Welcome, Lucy. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Kia ora rāwari. It's awesome to be here.
So glad. Before we get started, can you just give us a quick ko whānau, who you are, where you're from?
Called Lucy Jessep, tōku ingoa. Noa, I guess, kaiapoi tōku whānau, but I grew up in Te Waihora, so that feels like home to me. Ko nai tahu te iwi, ko nai tuahureri te hapu, Otatahi's home.
Me. So I'm not that familiar with anything north of Dunedin, south of Dunedin, or even west of Dunedin. So whereabouts is that, like, roughly?
My whānau is from Kaiapoi, so it's probably, I guess, 20 minutes north of Otatahi, so Christchurch. So very small kind of town, but very famous for the Kaiapoi pā and a lot of history there. My family's from Tuahiwi, I've grown up in Te Waihora is like Lake Ellesmere, so I grew up kind of Lincoln area, a little small place called Green Park, very like kind of just a farming town in a very small community. Yeah.
Oh, that's chill. So what was it like growing up there?
It was just like rural town. I grew up sheep farming, so just like small whānau, and we it was pretty cool, eh? Like you knew everyone. Like Green Park is just this tiny little it's got like a wee church, it's had a wee primary school, had like a hall, and then that was it. And everywhere else was just like farms, just dairy farms and beef farms and sheep farming. It's kind of just out of Taitapu and Lincoln, kind of squeezed in between. It was beautiful. Like I love going out there, and it's it's quiet, and it feels like home because it's just that slice of rural Canterbury, I guess. Very, very small, very small.
That sounds like a vibe, though. It's kind of like the Taranaki vibes. Everything up here is real small, real farming towns, unless you're on the coastline, like kind of towns, and not quite a city. Just like it's a little bit bigger than a town, New Plymouth, but it's definitely not quite a city. But I just get that small town vibe. It's nice to get that home when you're in amongst city life all the time. It gets a bit hectic, eh?
Yeah, but I guess it's small as well. Like my primary school, there was only 30 kids, like max. I think the roll it went between about probably like 25 and maybe 40 max while I was there. And so like even in my year level, there was 2 of us. And so when I went to high school, I went to Lincoln High School, and it was small. Like you just didn't know anyone because you only went with one other person in your year. So it was like a big shock. And also like it means like all my friends are younger than me, or mostly younger than me, because you're like in these really small classes with like lots of different year levels. And so my brother's friends are, my best friends, and they're a couple years younger than me. So yeah, it's a bit different, but I kind of love that, I think. Yeah, but kind of lonely at the same time, like just where that age gaps are a bit more prominent when you're in high school. Yeah,
a lot changes once you hit high school, especially if you're coming from like a small town like school where not a lot of them come with you.
Yeah, for sure.
And so what are you doing now? What do you do? Studying?
Yeah. So I went from high school straight into study. So studying at the University of Canterbury. I finished my undergrad last year, year before now, I guess, 2020. 2021 I finished. Goodness. Yeah, so I studied a Bachelor of Fine Arts. I majored in film. And and then I went and did a graduate diploma last year in science because I wanted to shift a bit more into psychology and into health and well-being and and so I'm enrolling into my master's for the next 2 years now.
That's sick. Yeah. That's sick. Why the slight shift?
Yeah, for me, I hold myself like I'm an artist like through and through. That's never something that's gonna go away. But I always had like an interest in even like, and I explored it in my art and filmmaking, was just like, you know, how do people work and how do people interact with the world, and thinking about like kind of having to think out of the box about how people interact with the world, which is just what art making is. It's just, you know, and it just looks like a lot of different people being like, oh, how do we look at this thing a little bit differently? How do I look at it? How can I make someone have a conversation about something? And for me, psychology was a bit more of the how and why behind that, a bit more of the science. And yeah, I think when I finished my fine arts, I was like, oh, I want to know more. And I wanted that science backing up what I was doing. And so, yeah, and I just thought to myself, I was like, I'm going to do a year, see how it goes. And it went really good and I really enjoyed it. And now I've stepped in.
Going down that rabbit hole
now. Fully. Yeah, I think I'm going to be talked into a PhD and we'll see how we go. Yeah.
You've got the bug. It's all over once you get the bug. But it makes sense though, the way you say how it linked through people's impressions and how you feel and how you think and what provokes those feelings from art and how that sort of flows through. I didn't ever think psychology and art would work like that.
Yeah.
The way you've explained it, I'm like, oh, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, and I look back at my research because I did for fine arts. You do like it's a 4-year degree, and you can do honours in your last year, so you end up doing a big research project. And I look back at my research and I was like, oh, I was just doing psychology experiments as art with no backing. But yeah,
so dope.
Yeah, I did think it would be a huge disadvantage though. Like when I was applying for my psychology courses, I thought it would be a huge disadvantage, and it hasn't been that at all. Yeah.
No, I think it's like a more evolved level of thinking that is so different to what you're taught out of the books.
Yeah.
You know, like in the book, you've got to link it to different theories, but you've already got, you know, the practical aspect now that you're linking the practical to the theoretical.
Yeah, and it's a lot more personal. Like fine arts is all about, like the coolest thing about that degree is that whatever you're interested in, you go and do it. I had people in my class who were, you know, they were really interested in how their whānau had come to New Zealand. So they were looking at relationships between Tonga and New Zealand. And then I had friends who were really interested in sci-fi and philosophy, and I had friends who were really interested in dance, and, you know, they all made work about all those things. So you get to kind of research whatever you're interested in, and which is, yeah, you don't get to do in many degrees, which is quite cool.
That's what I love, eh? Like, you have to have papers and projects at university that allow you to express who you are or things that you're actually passionately interested about. Like, movement and stuff is great, but unless you can apply it to real world stuff or stuff that you're really in tune with, it makes it so hard to write about.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I was the same at Otago. I had 320. I've talked about it heaps on this podcast. It was the first paper where we got to explore Te Ao Māori in a Māori health space. And so that just lit up light bulbs in a whole bunch of my mates, and we finally got to explore something that was interesting, that wasn't just biomechanics or nonlinear pedagogy and all that other boring stuff. We could actually apply who we are to research for once. So I could definitely feel you on that. It's such a need at university.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've come into that a bit more since doing the psychology stuff, for sure. I think I definitely put aside, or not even put aside, but just um, didn't didn't really like lean into or explore not only like my like being Maori. I didn't really explore that very much, and I definitely put it aside a bit. I think when I did my fine arts degree, and that's probably more. I've lent into that a bit more, definitely in the last year, but definitely in the last year. But it kind of slowly it just creeps out, and you just get involved into it again. You can't help it, eh?
Yeah, like I feel like everyone's done it. If they tell you they haven't, everyone's sort of been like, I just I just want to be like me for a little bit, but that just creeps back into your life. And you just, as far as you try to run away from it, it just keeps coming back. You can't run from who you are.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that. How has your journey in Thao Māori been? Like from the beginning all the way through to now.
It's yeah, it's been interesting, eh? Because my dad's side of the family, he's Pākehā, and so that's very much who I am as well. And like uh, happy to acknowledge that. I think it's really important to acknowledge that. But yeah, my mum, she grew up Te Ao Pākehā for sure. But it's something that I've always, like me and my brother, we've always known. And it's not something that we kind of found out really late or anything. So it's always been a part of the conversation of where we're from, which I think is really very lucky for that, because it could have so easily not been that way at all. But yeah, so that's, primary school. But when I went to high school, I decided to take te reo as a subject all the way through, because I had the opportunity. And but yeah, it was interesting. Like I got kind of, not that my teachers didn't do this, but definitely the other students put me in the box of not Maori, and I was very unsure how to deal with that at the time, because I was like, oh, I totally get where you're coming from, because I'm not going home to my parents speaking te reo, and I'm not very familiar with tikanga, and I at that time hadn't been on a marae before, and all those things, like and so I understood it, but I also was very much like, I had all my teachers and all the staff that were looking after the Maori students. That was not part of their conversation at all. They were very much like, oh no, you're Maori. So it never really kind of fully stopped me, but I think taking the te reo was just insane. Like, just that connection, and also doing it for over 5 years was really, really helpful. But yeah, like I said, when I started uni, I put it aside, or at least, like, because it wasn't a part of my art practice, it was a lot harder to engage. But I when we were in high school, we had a teacher who was looked after all the Māori students and just checked on their grades and things. And one thing that we did was we went to Canterbury Uni, and they showed us all the support services that were available to us if we were to study there. They were like, which is, it's Te Ao Marama building, but they were like, this is where you'll go for help. If you go to this university and you need help, this is where you're going to go. And these are the people that are going to help you. And that really stuck with me. But I do remember having that real imposter syndrome of just like, oh, this isn't for me. Like, I'm taking away from someone else. And but yeah, when I was in my first year at uni, my sister passed away, and I needed support. And I was like, remembered that conversation, and I was like, oh, that's where I'm going. And ever since then, I've kind of had a much more steady relationship, because yeah, the second I walked through those doors, they weren't asking questions. Like, they weren't being like, oh, can you prove how you're connected to your iwi? Can you tell us who you're related to? Can you recite your mihi? Like, they weren't asking those questions. They were just like, how can we help? And I think that just undeniable, just like, you are who you are, and that trust, I guess. And that, yeah, it's quite amazing what that can do, I think.
Yeah, it's a weird thing how it plays on your mind like that. You're like, oh, like even me, like got the Pākehā genes, as you can
Mm.
tell. I'm too white to be Maori, but I'm too Maori to be white. You got that whole
Yeah.
conversation going on, and then sometimes it plays in the back of your head, and you're like, shit, am I really? But it's not until you kind of grow older that people don't really care. Like if you're Maori, you're like, oh, which iwi? Oh, not those ones. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
It's real playful.
100%. Yeah.
I feel like when you finally get to an age, and I think it's changing now,
Mm.
but when you finally get to an age to realize that our culture is so beautiful, our
Oh,
people are amazing,
yeah.
we should never diminish one another. We should just lift each other up and be stronger because as one, we're unstoppable. We can do anything. We don't
Yeah.
have to place limitations on ourselves because we're Maori.
Yeah, and it's crazy as well, like how much you like you just know and you just feel it. Like my brother, my brother would struggle to learn Te Reo Māori, like, just if he was to go and study, I think he'd really struggle. He's got dyslexia and I think he'd find that really difficult. So because that for me was like, that's my in to understand and to learn. Um, but I remember I think it was when he was about 16, 17. He went and got his tamoku done on his shoulder. And I remember just feeling like so much pride because I was like, oh, he feels connected. Like he feels, like obviously within himself, he feels that connection. And yeah, I remember being so proud of that because um, he didn't have to, like, it was just there. Like there was just no denying that that was something that
Yeah.
he felt was really important to him, even that young, and without having to really engage with taking a subject or anything to feel that. Because you do feel that. Yeah.
That'd be such a mean moment. Like
Mm.
you're just like, yeah. Like I remember how mine. I was like, yo, let's go, and it's so cool to have. And when people ask you, you're able to be like, well, yeah, that's my story.
Yeah.
This is who I am. Oh yeah. See, I love our culture. It's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah.
So what's the methodology that you're using to learn te reo at the moment?
Oh, it's so bouncy, eh? I do find it hard because I think the one thing that I've found since being at uni is there's not as many opportunities or time as I wish there was. I've probably had to fight a little bit to include those courses. But yeah, no, I definitely took a break, and then like last year I had the opportunity, I had some space in my schedule, and so I took a 200. It was like the was it 200? Oh, the 100. Sorry, I think. It was like the second, because there's like one for the first semester and one for the second semester. So I jumped into the second semester course. So it's kind of like intro, I guess, and that felt for me like it was just stepping off from where I left off at high school, and it was hard, eh? Like all of a sudden having to be like, oh, I remember learning all this and I've just forgotten. Um, but yeah, just like little things I think like that, and then um, I really want to start going to the kapahaka sessions that they've got at the uni for this year. I went to a couple last year, and I was like, oh, I've got to go to more of these. And but yeah, I think it's just like little bits and pieces. And I'm like a real big Googler, so if I don't understand a word, I'll search it up, and I'm constantly doing that. And even words where I'm like, oh, like I could use a te reo word instead of the English word. I'll look it up and I'll put it in. And so I'm like constantly just like trying to add to my vocabulary and doing things like trying not to say hi or hello as much anymore. Like I pretty much never greet people with that very much, or I always correct myself and say kia ora instead.
Yeah.
So I think you just like slowly start adding it to your vocabulary, and yeah, yeah, it's a slow process, and I'm like nowhere near as far along as I wish I was. And yeah, every time you feel like you're starting to learn something, you forget it, and then you have to relearn, and it's a process. It's a journey.
Yeah, that's why I call it like a lifelong journey. Like my uncle, he's a real expert
Mm,
in Taranaki, and he always says to people like it's a journey. You're not gonna do 4 papers and all of a sudden you're an expert.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it takes so much time. You just got to feel it and learn it. What are some of your words that you switch out? You said you replace hi with kia ora. What other words do you throw in your day-to-day use?
I probably just like I try to do things that I use quite regularly. So like I'll start saying hi to my, like when I call the cats in at night, I'll be like, oh, hi to my and but yeah, I think starting to learn, like, I'm trying to think of other examples. Like it would just be like little things like being like, oh, I'm gonna go for a hikoi, rather than I'm going for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
walk, or I stand to say tēnā koe and instead of thank you, or kia ora instead of thank you, and just starting to learn like a few things that I say quite regularly. But probably the other massive one I've been doing is, and anyone who knows me knows I'm like such a I'm terrible for this because I'll correct it, but just relearning place names.
Mm,
Like, oh, that's been a journey. Like, there's so many like place names and that I catch myself out being like, how did you pronounce that? Or I hear someone else pronouncing it and I'm like, no, like, but yeah, it's been really important to me. I work at a painting studio in town, and so we teach art classes, and like just like now, whenever I greet the class, it's always like, kia ora koutou katoa, no mai haere mai, and I'll talk, I'll be like, oh, we've got some wine over at the bar, we've got water, we're gonna have some kai later, like just submitting in little words and adding lots of te reo songs to our playlists, and like just inserting myself, and hopefully it means if I
I love
leave,
that.
it's still there. And yeah, I think it's really important to me that that Māori feels safe in our studio space, and that's a space that I have some say over. And we've had feedback about that too, which is like warms my soul. But yeah, I think wherever I can have like a little bit of just some sort of where I can make an impact or make some small changes. And nothing crazy, like it doesn't take much at all away. Like it's just little things and you get more confident. And I remember the first time, like when I started saying kia ora at work, I just used to think like, oh my God, everyone's gonna judge me and everyone's gonna pull me up on it if I say it wrong. And I had so much fear about, saying kia ora, and especially if, someone who was Māori came in, I was like, oh, are they gonna think I'm just saying it to them because, and yeah, no, and you just kind of you start forgetting all that stuff, and it's one step back. You start start small and just build it up, and you get better and more confident, and yeah.
Yeah, that's all it takes. All it takes is one word. Over time, that one word multiplies, and all of a sudden, you're no longer saying good night. You're saying poor Māori instead
Yeah,
of good morning, ata Māori.
yeah, yeah,
Life is good.
mm.
Like it's not even a conscious thing you have to think about anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
Like anytime I'm going to the dairy, it's tēnā koe, yeah, just this today, thank you. You're just like, oh yeah,
yeah,
it's so much fun. But have
yeah.
you ever been in that position where you go, oh, tēnā koe, and then they hit you with the full conversation and te reo, and you're just like, oh, sorry, matua, I'm not that great, but thanks for believing in me.
I don't think I've been caught out, but I helped out at Ngā Manu Kōrero because I got hosted at UC last year, and everyone's speaking te reo, and it's the most beautiful thing ever. And you're just walking around and like there's so many people speaking te reo to each other, and I there was this mum, and her daughter was doing a speech on stage, and she was real nervous, obviously, for her daughter, and the category she was in was like it was speaking te reo, so her whole speech was in te reo, and her mum was real nervous, and there was like a thing where you could watch them live, so I pulled it up on my phone, and I was like with her backstage, and I was like watching, and she was just speaking to me in te reo. And I just remember thinking, like, I was like, oh, like, I really want to, like, reassure her and, like, be saying all the right things. And I think at the time, like, I didn't need to say anything. But I remember, like, that was, like, a huge, like, oh, I wish, like, I could just go back and forth and, have that kōrero and not worry about saying the wrong thing or um, yeah. But I haven't really been caught out just yet, but I'm sure it will happen. Yeah,
It's an all good scenario too when it does
yeah,
happen. They're like, oh, Ottawa, my boy, yeah, this, and this. But yeah, hey, when we both become a little more fluent, we'll get you back on and we'll just do a straight ill session.
yeah. That's it.
So I also noticed on your Instagram you're a part of another kaupapa. Is
Yeah,
Lads Without, or is it?
those
What's
about
the?
labels. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, no, it's so close to my heart. Yeah, so I do work on the marketing team or work. I volunteer for the marketing team for Les About Labels, which is a men's mental health charity. So it's also a club at UC, University of Canterbury, if you know, like our club scene's big. But it's a men's mental health charity. But we kind of focus on it's about everyone's mental health and it's about tertiary students' mental health and just so we run events and initiatives and online campaigns and like the whole idea is just how can we have better conversations and more informed conversations about mental health and yeah, while we're at uni and while we're in a space where we quite often experience like lots of stress and failure and also big successes and we're usually out of our comfort zones and we're far away from home and yeah, how can we increase the kōrero um, around our hora? It's important, eh? Yeah.
Oh, it's super important. Super challenging too, eh? Like getting people in a space where they feel comfortable enough to open up and share.
Yeah. So we try and run lots of different things. We've a lot of our stuff's around like we talk about Te Whare Tapawhā a lot because we're like just thinking about all those different ways that we can engage in good mental health, and so we try and like we have speaker events, but we also have like a lot of probably one of our biggest ones is Running 72, which we host annually. And it's just like a big like relay for life where everyone comes together and over 72 hours we have a track set up on campus and no matter who you are and how far you can run or if you can run well at all, if you can't, people come along and add laps to the tally and just for 72 hours we just try and get as many laps around as possible whilst keeping someone on the track at all times. And it's just insane, eh? Like the amount of people that come down and support, and also but like just while you're there, it's like this community space where we've got kai and we've got recovery spaces and we've got people coming down to give kōrero around mental health and you find you just if you're down there at 3 a.m. and you're with a whole lot of strangers and you've just run a couple laps, it's a pretty vulnerable space and and we raise the money while we're there as well, and we're trying to get a counselling fund set up for this year as well just to help even more with some access to counselling. Yeah, it's a cool
That's
kaupapa.
so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Holy heck, man. So how did this all kind of come about?
um we're in this is our how many years we're doing, this is our third year I think,
Oosh.
of the club. So it started with just like a small group of guys, just mostly just noticing that there was a gap and there wasn't any clubs that were having that kōrero. And at the time, we just had some stats come out that was saying that, in regards to suicide statistics, that men were predominantly, there was just a disparity there. It wasn't 50-50. And I think at the time where Running 72 comes from is that 72% of suicides are by men. And yeah, they noticed that gap, and so they started this club. But it's just grown. Like we've got now 18 people in our team, so all students and just like a mix of like different genders and studying different things and from different backgrounds, and we all just come together and we're all super passionate. A lot of us didn't know each other as well, which is really cool because now I've got, like last year our team, I met 17 new people, and then this year again I met all the new people that have come on, and it's a very cool space to be a part of. Yeah.
Hard out. And how can people get involved if they're down at UC or if they're heading to UC this year?
I'd probably just say I'd say follow our socials. Just Lads Without Labels. And yeah, follow what we do. We tend to do like a sign up at clubs day, so we'll be down there. You don't need to sign up necessarily, but it does mean keeping the loop a little bit easier. But yeah, you can just kind of keep an eye out and come down to any of our events. Like I said, like we try and make all our events free as well. So we don't have a sign up fee like some clubs do. So we try and keep everything super accessible and try and keep a good range. So you don't have to be a runner or super fit to come to stuff. You can come along to some of the educational stuff, or we have like craft sessions and life skills sessions, and yeah, try and keep a good range. But yeah, just come on down.
Plenty to do, whānau. So if any of your listeners out there are headed to UC, go check them out. Lads Without Labels sounds like a great kaupapa.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a tāne either. Like as you can see, anyone can be involved. And I think the biggest thing is we've all got tāne in our lives, and we also all know people that kind of have that masculine or that's those kinds of ways of dealing with mental health, which is sometimes not very healthy and are a bit harder. And we all know people in our lives like that, and they don't have to be tāne to experience that. It's very southern New Zealand thing as well. Yeah.
It is quite hard though to break down those barriers. But how, I guess from a wahine perspective, because me being a tāne, I know how I can interact with my boys and I can have those reads. How is it, being a wahine? How do you understand those telltale signs from both other wahine and tāne? How do you sort of understand where they're coming from, and how do you read their signs?
I think a big part is just just keeping an eye on your mates and not being afraid to ask people how they're doing. And when you ask, like one thing that I try and do is when people ask me how I am, I don't lie anymore. If I'm having a terrible week, you're going to know. And I won't necessarily unload on you, but I'll be like, oh no, this week was awful, but we're all good. Or I'm not all good and it's okay. Or, it's so much easier that way. But when you ask people how they are, ask them, really, how are you? And just engage in those conversations. And I think we've got a cool resource on our page that is helpful, but just keeping an eye on how people are. Are they a little less talkative than they usually are? Are they kind of, you haven't seen them for a while? Are they acting a little bit differently? Are they maybe a bit more negative around the world? How's their stress levels going? Do they have a big thing coming up? And just checking in and seeing what you can do. And a lot of the time it's pretty small stuff, just letting people know that you're there and, going around, dropping around some kai and, just checking in, honestly, just checking in with each other and just noticing when things maybe aren't quite right. Because a lot of the time as well, people, you don't, the whole thing of Lads Without Labels is that, well-being is something that applies to everyone, and you don't need to have a diagnosis of depression or anxiety or anything else to experience highs and lows of feeling good or not. So, just recognizing that, everyone's going to have good days and bad days, and we're all a little bit more resilient if we're talking about it and talking about our own experiences and listening to other people's.
Hard. And even if you're not a talker, sometimes it's nice just to listen to other people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So there's options available for everyone.
100%, yeah. Yeah, there's so much help there, eh? We've, one of the things that I did this year was we did some conversations with just a lot of the support staff on campus, and I got to know a lot of them quite well. And I'm also, I know the the staff down at Te Waka Pākākono, which is the Māori and Pacifica and Rainbow support staff. And yeah, you meet those guys and they're awesome, eh? And they're so willing to help, and they will do everything to make sure that you're having the best university experience. And, they're paid to literally just be there. And so, I always say to people, I'm make the most of them. They're awesome people. and they're so willing to help.
That's one thing, yeah. Always go and see those people because, like you say, they are wanting to help. I remember going to the Māori Centre and they didn't even like treat you any different. They just, yeah, boy, go grab your feed. There's feed in there.
Yeah.
Do the dishes afterwards, and then after all of that, then they'll give you a kōrero and see what you want to talk about. And they don't even probe. There's no probing involved. Like no one's like, so how are you feeling? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Is that what you're here?
Yeah, and you
It's
don't.
just like
I was gonna say you don't realize what they've got access to as well. I got set up with some funding to help me go see a psychologist last year, and like that was life saving to me at the time. Like that was really life saving to me, and but you know when you've got someone being like, oh yeah, we can get you access to that when you didn't know, like you know I would never have known if I didn't ask, or not even ask, but like just engage with them, because they don't know to give you that support if you're not telling them that you might need it. Yeah.
and that's what they have the funding for. It's what they want to do. They want to be able to help you.
Yeah.
And if they don't spend the funding, then they get a smaller budget next year. So utilize it, whānau, utilize it. It's just like talking to an auntie or uncle when you get there too, straight up.
Yeah. No, they're insane. My student advisor for this year, last year, he was insane, and we checked in every 2 weeks, and it was just, how you going? Oh, you're doing great, wonderful. What can I help with, or who can I introduce you to, or do you want to get involved with this event, or you know, just small things. And it was insane.
See, whānau, that's what you're missing out on. That's what you're missing out on. But extra whanaungatanga at university, especially for those who travel from far away, make use of it. It's good for you. So moving ahead, what does this year look like for you? What have you got in store for you this year?
Oh, big year, eh? I was really lucky last year. I was like, I want to do my master's, but I don't know what that's going to look like, and I don't know how to enroll, and I don't know anyone, and they don't tell you how hard it is to find a supervisor and to find a project and how to do it. And so I was, I'm quite bad I knock on people's doors when I don't understand stuff, and I just ask lots of questions. So, you know, I was like saying to my advisors, I was like, who do I talk to, and how do I find out this information? And they were like, all right, we're on your case, and we'll track down people. And I got introduced to Paul from the Ngāi Tahu Research Centre, and who's incredible, awesome person. And he sat down with me for a coffee, and we just talked about what I was interested in and sorts of research I wanted to do, what I was just trying to find out. And I got introduced to a couple different like master's students and clinical psychology students, and people who just finished their doctorates and things. And I just sat down with each of these people and had a kōrero about who I was and what I was interested in, and just picked their brains basically. I had lots of questions, and I got introduced to Dr. Grace Walker, who is just like a superhuman, absolutely queen, love her to bits already. But introduced to her, and I was warned that she would kind of take me under her wing if she met me, which she has, and I welcomed it, to be honest. But yeah, she introduced me to some lecturers who have been working on this new project called LEAPS, and it's essentially a artificial pancreas system for people with diabetes. And so we've got this really, I joined their team. I loved the Kaupapa, and for a couple reasons. And probably the most important thing when I was looking for a supervisor and when I was looking for research to do was I wanted it to be Kaupapa Māori. And I wanted it to be research working with Māori communities rather than on or... I wanted it to be something that was very community based, and I didn't want to just be sitting in a room with some data. I really wanted to be involved and learn, and I wanted to be working with people, and this project's going to do that. So it's we're like essentially my role is we're working with some engineers who are working on some technology which will help it's like, I think it's about 3 different types of technology that will help literally just change the lives of people with diabetes and make it a lot more accessible and affordable in Aotearoa. And I'll be helping look at barriers and enablers to technology adoption and for Māori communities. So, yeah, big, but very cool, very cool.
That sounds hella intense. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds hella intense, but it sounds super like interesting. It sounds like it's gonna keep you busy.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that will be, this year's just the research really kicked off. It's been kind of going on for a long time, but this part of the research has been going on since November, so it's so fresh. So yeah, I've been on a scholarship for the summer to start engaging with the data, and we've just started some focus groups up north, and it's just kicking off. And I'll be working with working with a lot of like kind of doctorate students and lecturers, and I'm the baby in the group for sure. And so I'm just learning off them, and just kind of taking in their guidance and just trying to engage with it as much as possible. And feel very, very privileged to have this opportunity. Insane.
Feels like a great place to be in. You've got so much guidance around you.
Yeah, and I think like because I've like when I got that project so quickly, like it was just after some conversations. It was like, oh, do you want to meet this person? And then it was like, oh, all right, like we'll find out what that involves, and we'll just ask some more questions. And I think after 3 different coffees, I joined the group. I joined the team.
It doesn't take much, you're in. I swear they've got like a catalogue of projects. They're just like, oh, you'd be great in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, for this project, I think a lot of it was about, like, the people on our team are so important, and we're all, like, everyone's quite young, which I think is quite cool, and everyone's got very fresh eyes, and is also very, like, open to learning, and, I don't know, it was very hard, though, finding a Kaupapa Māori project, a lot harder than I wanted it should be.
Should have come to Dunedin.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I remember when I was first finding out things though, I was like, oh, I just want someone to tell me if I can't study that here or if that's not something that happens at UC, and because it's not the same across disciplines. It was just in psychology it was a bit harder, and but I was also very much aware that like I'd have the support of my iwi if I stayed at Canterbury, and Ngāi Tahu they've just backed me 100%, and I wouldn't get that in the same way if I went somewhere else. So it was a decision to have to stay. Yeah.
Nah, I only say that because I'm biased. Dunedin's the best place to go. No, but it is like that though. If you do get backing from the iwi and any projects you do, you run for it because man, it's amazing chance to be involved in iwi movements and those spaces and get to know some of those people as well. Invaluable time.
Yeah, and I feel a huge responsibility to like to give back to the community and to support, and I think especially in an academic space to have more Māori voices. And I'm pretty like unapologetic now. I don't think I was when I started, but now I'm a bit more like, why is this not happening? And I'm a bit more, I pester a little bit more, and which is maybe isn't always the best thing, but
I do it sometimes. Not to my supervisors though.
No. But like what I found as well, like it's me kind of being like, oh, I wanna do this, and all the Māori staff and like all the people in those spaces, they're just like, oh yeah, and they back you. Like they're like, oh, we'll come to the meetings, we'll sit in with you, we'll send the emails for you, like they'll make it happen. But you've got to not ask for that support, but like be willing to take it when it's offered to you.
And don't be shy. Don't be shy either. Like
knock on the doors.
They want it to happen. They want it to happen. Trust me.
When I was like, oh, I might do my masters, they were all like the whole team were just like, Oh, all right. How are we going to make that happen?
Yeah.
What do you need from us to make that happen?
And they make it happen.
Mm.
So if you do have that opportunity, whānau, get out and make it happen, because they would love to see it. And they would love to see you again as well, because I bet most of them know who you are.
Mm. Yeah.
Or they know someone who knows your whānau.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah, small world, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the amount of people I've found out that I'm like related to now that I've, yeah.
Yeah. And all it takes is one person to go, oh, yeah, your uncle's blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Oh, yeah. And then, oh, yeah, so you're related to them. And then you go, oh, true. Jeez.
Yeah.
That's why I love Māori people.
Yeah.
Just crack up.
Yeah.
Got whānau everywhere.
Yeah.
So we do another thing on this show. It's kind of new. It only just came in towards the end of 2022. It's your rock and your rose, your highs and your lows. But we'll go with, just because we're only a week into the new year, so we might as well go with your rock and your rose of 2022. What were your highs and lows of last year?
Oh, I mean, last year was pretty good. Like
That's good to hear.
Well, honestly, it was pretty good. I'll probably say my rose was definitely probably getting this diabetes project because it felt like it made me really excited for my future, and it also made me really excited to like be Māori and have an opportunity to work in that space. So yeah, like, and just the people I've met since that project started is just like so extraordinary. So I'm very, very grateful for those meetings, and for Grace, honestly, for just being like, for, you know, seeing something in me that she thought could be utilized, or, you know, saw, I guess, my passion. And so yeah, that would probably be my rose, because that was pretty cool. But yeah, hard to pick. For my thorn. Probably COVID, I think. Like getting COVID.
Yep.
I've had it at probably 2 really inconvenient times this year or last year, and I mean, you can't plan for that stuff, but yeah, I got it at 2 most inconvenient times. I think I got it, the first time was like first week back on term 2, and I just had so much due, and it stuffed up my entire second term and took a really long to recover. And I think that was, but like pushing through that, like you like coming out the other side and getting the marks that I did from just having to like hustle, and but also just trying to rest and just feeling like you're just in an impossible spot. I think that was really tough. And I missed Christmas because of COVID. So that was gutting.
I hate COVID.
Yeah, don't get it if you've somehow avoided it.
Yeah. Well, those are 2 totally different. You can definitely see the rock and the rose in those 2.
Yeah. Doesn't stop anything though. Like, yeah, I still had an awesome year, but yeah, getting COVID sucked.
I mean, that's like, out of all the things that could happen to a person, having that as the lowest of the year, that's not bad. That's not a bad gig.
True.
That's not a bad gig. That's a great year. Great 2022. Hopefully 2023 is just as great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's so much lined up that I'm like, oh, it could be so excited. So excited. There's a lot on the cards, yeah.
No, I mean, I've just got to grab the next part of the show, which involves people don't really like the name of it. It's supposed to be a dream jar, but I turned it into the dream box, and they just don't like how dream box sounds. So I'm trialing 2023. We might call it the dream deposit box for now.
Deposit box.
The dream deposit box. It's as far as we got in terms of coming up with a unique name. I've also realised that sometimes when I go off camera to pick the box up, that there's just a painful, awkward silence. So I have to edit that. But yeah, so the dream deposit box is a space where we place dreams to be preserved until they are achieved. And when they're achieved, this wall's getting painted soon. So I want to have like a digital board up behind me. And every time someone achieves a dream, it'll either be written up there or we'll have photos of them accomplishing that dream. What is a dream you'd like to achieve? And we can place it in here.
Oh, that's hard, eh? I've got so many things I want to do. How long term are we talking?
It could be a short term, it could be long term, it could be one of those I hope dreams, like I think my first one was like I want to own a McLaren because I couldn't think of anything, and that's like I'm only $359,000 away from achieving that, so a long way to go.
I'd probably say like I think I joked about it at the start, but I think I would really like to get my PhD at some point. I don't know whether it will be in the next 10 years or something, but I think that is something like, no one in my whānau's kind of studied, is probably like I've got a couple cousins who've done their masters, which is so cool. But yeah, I think I think it would be really cool to have my PhD, not necessarily just for not for the title or anything, but just like the process and the journey of like getting working towards a PhD. I think there's so much that can happen in that space, and then also like the opportunities that you can then do, and the types of the impact you can have on your community, and in an academic space as well. Once you've got that achievement or worked towards that achievement, I've got so many like hopes for the academic space of like research, and for Kaupapa Māori research and psychology and science, and in the health scene as well, that I think I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to go on that journey, I think, to make that happen or to have a part in that. Yeah.
Man, love that. Lucy getting a PhD, going in here. Hopefully that gets achieved soon. That'll probably be one of the first ones that get put up there. I think slowly I'm piecing out who might get there first, because some dreams are achievable within the next couple of years, and some are a long way off, like mine. But I rate that. That's such a powerful reason for why you want to do a PhD. Like, not just saying, I would like to get a PhD just to have DR at the front of my name and PhD at the end of mine. So no, I rate that, and it is a hell of a journey.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck.
I don't know. I see. Like one of my really good friends, Nicole, is her doing her PhD, and she'll be finished by 23, 24. And I see Crazy, her. I see her doing it, and I'm like, anything's possible. Nah.
It is like a powerful journey. I know one person who's kind of like an advisor to my master's at the moment. He's trying to do his third PhD. Wow. Yeah, no one knows why. You ask him, he's just like, I don't know, thought it'd be fun. And he's like, he's learned so much. He lost his mother in his first one, and his father in his second, or the other way around, something like that. So so he's going strong. He loves a PhD. He loves a PhD.
I think though,
I thought about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think though, if you've got the right people around you, and you've got the right project, and that stuff doesn't seem as hard. My biggest fear was to go into postgrad, was I was so scared that I would end up in a project or I'd be aiming for the finish line of having the qualification, that I would just accept really boring projects or projects that I wasn't passionate about. And there's so many opportunities where lecturers put out projects that they're working on that you have an opportunity to be a part of, which can sometimes be quite good, but then it's also sometimes you're joining another researcher's projects that don't have your values and your interests at heart. And so, yeah, that was really important for me when I was like trying to find a supervisor and trying to find a project. It was like I was so clear. I was like, these are my values, and I was like, if these things aren't like are not a part of the research, then I'd rather not do it. And yeah, but I think that's purely because the end goal is really great, but the projects and the learning is a bit more important to me.
Yeah, definitely stay true to that. Never ever take a project on that you're not 100% about, because you really got to love it to finish it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm finding out with my masters. Got to really love it to finish it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you don't love it the whole time, right? Like, it's going to have its highs and lows. But yeah, I think if you're able to work on a project that you feel proud of and that you can't wait to tell people about, and I think that's really cool. Because I mean, like, I don't necessarily know. I might not end up in diabetes research forever, but I do see this as a really fantastic opportunity, and I think it would change the lives of so many people, and also will hopefully be a nice like instigator for some other spaces as well. Yeah.
Hard. And like, it's a great place to be right now too. Like, so much importance in that industry.
Yeah, and like also the chance to like we're looking at going to a conference in Canada, hopefully this year. We'll see.
Surely.
But it's working with other Indigenous populations and communities, because a lot of the time we're all facing the same struggles, and we're all in different ways, of course, and we have different ways of dealing with them. But a lot of the battles are the same battles, and I love the idea of this like really like worldwide, just like banding together and trying to tackle problems together. And so I think it's got some really cool opportunities as well. Like you're not stuck to just Aotearoa just because you want to support your people. Yeah.
Hard. There's definitely links all throughout the Pacific where you can go into. Yeah, that's going to be an amazing conference to go. Fill me in when you get back.
Yeah. Oh. Well, yeah. when like you don't. It's such a cool opportunity that you don't believe it's true until someone's gonna like. We'll be at the airport and I'll be like, "Are we gonna go?" Like, I think it's not gonna take until it actually happens for that to be like, real.
Nah, it's gonna be me. Well, that's kind of like a perfect way to segue into this next sort of segment. Sorry, my throat's a bit off. I've been a little bit sick the past couple of days.
No, you're good.
If you could go back and tell, let's go with 17-year-old Lucy. If you could go back to 17 years old, is there any piece of advice or just anything you'd tell yourself back then?
Yeah, 17-year-old Lucy was in last year of high school. Probably like, I just think at the time, like I had so much anxiety about leaving, and was definitely like not sure of myself at the time. Both just like who I was as a person, but then also like, I mean, anxiety is just hard, eh? Like it just tells you all sorts of not true things about yourself. I don't know. I guess I'd probably I probably like not necessarily like tell me to do anything differently, but I would definitely support or reassure that me sticking true to myself and trusting the process, but also just like being true to myself, like we'll keep people around, and the opportunities will come, and all those things, because I think at that time there's so much pressure to change who you are to fit into certain circles, and I didn't really do that, not because I didn't want to, but because I was just way too scared to do anything, so I just stayed who I was. But I think it's worked out okay. So yeah, I think it'd just be reassurance that, things get easier, and who I am as a person is a huge part of why that's happened. Yeah.
That's on. How did you stay true to who you were? Because I know, like, high school is a trying time. Like, there's so many pressures to be or to perform or act a certain way to please certain people. How did you, maintain true to who you are?
Um, High school for me was a bit of a safe space. Like things at home weren't that good at the time, and so I remember like going to high school was like it was the only space where like I just had um, complete control of who I was, but also like the opportunities to like do like it was a space that I did well in. Like I really enjoyed school, and I did well in it, and especially I just took all the art subjects, so I was just doing art the whole time, so it was great. But I think like that was the space where I felt safe to be myself. And I mean, anyone who knows me knows I was so shy, like ridiculously shy when I started school. Like, yeah, terrible shy. And like some of my friends I probably only got because I kind of just stuck around and just hung out with them. And we just have stayed there. But yeah, no, I think I wouldn't say necessarily I had any tactics in mind when I was doing it, because I think at the time I was a little bit just surviving. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. Like I don't think I necessarily was doing anything to try and make it happen, because yeah, at the time it was just about me just doing my best and being in that space. But a big helpers for that was I did dance at the time, and that just changed my confidence massively. Um, and then sticking to the things that I was good at. Like, I was really good at art, so that was a space that I became really confident in, and I just leant into the things that I enjoyed, and um, didn't do as many of the things that I didn't enjoy, which isn't necessarily a good thing, because there's so much stuff that I wish I'd done if I'd been a bit more confident, which I would love to do now. Um, but yeah, I think just leaning into the things that feel good to you and feel right. And I think sometimes, especially if that's where your safe space is, it's not the end of the world if it helps you survive a little bit. Yeah.
Hard. Yeah, like you say, that's just a safe space and that's your comfort zone, and that's just where you're at.
Yeah.
And especially at high school, like, you're not trying to push the boundaries too much at the moment. Like, where you're safe and comfortable is kind of how you get through high school. I got
Yeah.
through high school that way anyway.
Yeah. Like I wasn't really trying to, I wasn't trying to be too crazy because I didn't feel like I needed to. But yeah, I think you get grounded when you when you work out the things that you're really good at and you can ground yourself in those things. It is so much easier then to like push your boundaries and start to do the uncomfortable things. If nothing's stable in your life, it is so much harder to find grounding. Yeah.
That's with everything, though, right? Like, you need a strong foundation
Mm.
in order to build upon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And would you say now you've got the strong foundation?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, there's so much growing though. Like, yeah. And I think like I would put that down to um, I ask for help a lot. Like I said, I ask a lot of questions, and um, I've got like internal promises about like being really honest about how I'm feeling, and being that person that other people weren't in my life. So, being that person to ask how are you doing, and being that person to like listen, and I hate not knowing things, so I'm always asking questions and trying to find out things. And I think I'm only in the space I am now because I asked for help and I sent the emails that I needed to send. And um, if I didn't understand something, I just pestered until I found out. And um, yeah, And yeah, things like, yeah, not being afraid to, you know, if you need to go see a psychologist or you need to go talk to someone, just going and doing it. Like, it doesn't make you any less of a strong person of anything. It makes you stronger. And, you know, it's, yeah, there's nothing wrong with asking for a bit of help. And, you know, even if it's just something silly like you don't understand how to enroll into university, just ask everyone. Ask people who've done it before.
Yeah.
Go and ask the people that they tell you to ask, and then just pester them until you find out the things you need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just unapologetically like curious and willing to put yourself out there.
That's some great advice. That's some wholesome advice. And I guess building off of that, then, what would you like to say? You know, say 5 to 10 years, you look back on this clip. What would you like to say to yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Ooh. It's so hard, not knowing where you're going to be in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe just to like, that reminder, just that like you've got lots of time, and you know, to take things slow and to do them well, and yeah, just like because you've got lots of time to work it out. And yeah, so I think it would just be like reassurance of like, because yeah, I know that when you're looking at doing further study and things, it can be quite scary knowing you know in your head like I'm about to turn 23, which is so young, but in my brain it's so old. And so I think just that reassurance that you know you are young and you've got lots of time, and yeah, just take things slow and do them well and enjoy it. And yeah.
Man, that's great advice. Like, you're never wrong in whatever you say, really, because it's you.
Yeah.
You mean, like, I was wrong to myself. I don't care. Like, that's what I love about these questions, because it's just interesting to hear how people would respond and how people talk to themselves. That's what I think I like most about it, is just hearing how people try and figure out how they're going to talk to their, even though it's a future self or a past self, just it's still a way that you talk to yourself, whether it's kind, whether it's negative, whether it's encouragement, or whether it's just, I hope you're still doing you, I hope you're still trucking along. Like, I just love hearing that. It's not really a question set up to pass or fail. It's just interesting to hear how people talk to one another or themselves.
Yeah, because it's crazy how much you can like grow and change in just like a year's time. So yeah, I can't even imagine what 5-10 year in the future Lucy's doing. We'll see.
Just as long as you're enjoying it, wherever it is.
Yes.
And I guess as we start winding down the clock and start wrapping up this episode, you always say you're the friend that asks everyone how they're doing. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a lot better. Yeah, a lot better. But no, I'm good. I'm excited. I'm a little bit. I'm trying to figure out my enrollment at the moment, so that's a bit of a headache. But like I said,
Tell me about
asking lots of help. And, but yeah, no, I'm very good. I'm very good.
That's good to hear. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still listening, thank you so much for listening. This has been a great episode. I've really enjoyed it. So, Lucy, thank you so much for jumping on the show. I really do appreciate it. Welcome to the 99Dreams whānau. Everyone that comes on, they don't know it. I've just started saying it this year, so they're all part of the 99Dreams whānau now. So, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Is there anything you want to say? Where can people find you? I'll leave links below down for everyone as well. But where can they find you? And what are you up to?
Oh, I mean, you're welcome to, you're welcome to look at my Instagram, I guess. I usually post stuff I'm doing up there. I'm terrible at posting, so it's not very often, but you'd see a bit of my art and things. But yeah, no, I'll send you go follow Labels. They're, we're awesome. I'm going to we're an awesome team. But we have, doing some pretty cool things, and I think it's a space to watch for sure. And if you want to even check out the LEAPS diabetes research, it's a very cool kaupapa that I'm very proud to be a part of. So we've got a website as well, so you can check out and follow along with how we're doing and where the research is going as well. Yeah.
Me. There you go, whānau. Keep an eye out. One day she'll be Dr. Lucy. So definitely will. Just when you get there, you get there.
Yes.
But thank you so much for joining me. It's been a great time chatting away. So everybody out there, again, take care this year. Happy 2023, and Mōreo on everybody. Stay safe.